Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's strategic session, 5 Reasons Employers Overlook Military Talent and How to Fix It. When we talk about military talent today, we are taking a holistic view. This includes our active duty members transitioning to civilian life, veterans of all eras, as well as military spouses who manage, lead, and support in various capacities with multiple stakeholders. Each of these groups face unique barriers, but they all share a common thread of high adaptability and resilience. Organizations may unintentionally overlook this potential due to fixable blind spots in their hiring processes. Today, we're only going to be identifying those barriers. We will also provide a practical blueprint for correcting them. We're incredibly lucky to be joined by industry leaders who are successfully navigating this space. We have with us today none other than the Nate Smith, Military Program Manager at Fiserv, as well as Zach Elliott, Director of Academic Excellence at NGT Academy. My name is Brittany Knowles. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I have the pleasure of being the Learning and Development Specialist here at CareerCircle, where skills go to work. I have black hair, brown eyes, and I'm wearing an animal earth tone print wrap dress with a smile, hoping that is coming off to you all as the excitement that I have about today's session. We are currently recording this webinar to ensure accessibility for all participants. If you'd like to, you can enable closed captioning by clicking more in the bottom right corner of your screen, then selecting captions and show captions. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce our amazing, fantastic, wonderful panelists, Nate and Zach. Could you please provide us your brief descriptive introduction, share a bit about what you do, and explain a bit about your passion for inclusive military hiring practices? Nate, why don't you start for us?
I was going to let Zach start, but appreciate it, the invitation to be a part of this again. Last year's was fantastic. I hope this year's the same. I'm sure it will be. But Nate Smith, Military Programs Manager for Fiserv and the Talent Acquisition Space. I am a 40-something-year-old male, bald head, by choice, not because I have to. I'm wearing a sport coat, collared shirt. Retired out of the Army National Guard component about 4 months ago after a 22-year career. About 13 years of that on active duty. Been at Fiserv for the past 11 years. A couple different roles in the firm. Transition to focus on pipelines for military talent, whether you're a veteran, you're transitioning out of the service, you're a guardsman, reservist, or you're a veteran spouse, a military spouse. We're very proud of what they do and try to find inclusive ways to incorporate them into our firm, into a career in financial technology, because it's just good business, right? So I advocate for veteran talent, make the business case, translate what you may or may not have done in the service, some of those secondary functions that you do in the service, and speak to the civilian hiring managers that may not see that connection. And just happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Nate, and thank you so much for your service. Zach?
My name is Zach Elliott. I'm the Director of Academic Excellence at NGT Academy. My hair is red. I have a white beard. My kids call me Santa Claus. I go by he, him. I'm wearing a funky colored shirt today. I can't even describe the pattern for you. I did serve 10 and a half years in the United States Air Force. My career in the Air Force was I was security forces, a police officer. My specialty there was nuclear recapture and recovery operations and explosive breaching. And then after, as you can imagine, that probably didn't translate too well in the civilian world. So I got out of the military and went to culinary school. I became a chef for a few years and came home smelling like tequila at 3 a.m. And my wife said, "Hey, we need to get some more money because it's only $9 an hour you're making." I went back to school, used the rest of that GI Bill money for networking and security. I landed at Cisco in 2012, and I was an engineering track all the way to Cisco until the last 3 years there, where I ran the military and sales and leadership program, which is a skill bridge program for Cisco systems. Um, I grew the pipeline there from transitioning veterans from around a couple of hundred to 1,000 at a time, and just something that really drove me. I developed that passion for helping transition veterans, uh, and just really digging into what the skill sets they do offer to big corporation. As of recently, within the last 2 weeks, I joined NGT Academy. I always told my former leader that I would never leave Cisco unless a bigger and greater opportunity existed. And now I have the opportunity to impact and help develop more veterans than I did with Cisco. So I'm leaping at the excitement for this new role, a new career, new journey of mine, and enjoy and ready to dive into some passions of mine and Nate's.
Well, for you as well, thank you for your service. And what a transformational job experience that you've had from tequila to the NGT Academy. Wow, amazing. So, what we're going to do today, I really want to be able to capture you all's passion, and I want this to be more conversational. And so, I have some questions for you. I want to let the audience know you have the opportunity to ask questions of our amazing panelists. Feel free to put it into the chat, as well as I want to also open the floor for there to be some networking. One of the things that we love to do, especially when we get the opportunity to be on a session such as this, is to connect with each other via LinkedIn or social media. So if you have that linked, please feel free to put it into the chat. We want to create community around this amazing, amazing population. All right. With that being said, are y'all ready for the amazingness that Zach and Nate are about to give to us? I know that I can't wait. Let's get right into it. Question number one. Military resumes often use specialized terminology. In your experience, what is a key technical skill or leadership trait that civilian recruiters most frequently struggle to identify because of the language barrier? Now, y'all,
Is that open to both of us, or
Is that
both. All of the questions are both of you. So I was looking to see who looked more prepared. So one person was
I
chewing on a pen cap.
I can
Okay,
I
I'm
can
gonna
I can
go with
go.
you, Nate.
I think in my experience, I think decision making under pressure comes to mind.
Mm,
I think a lot of that stuff is hidden, in their resumes when they talk about accountability or mission execution and leading personnel. It's not really translating the consequence level that came with that.
mm,
And what that really means is, hey, they were operating in environments where failure had real operational, financial, and human consequences. At the end of the day, I think it's not a lack of skill; it's a lack of interpretation.
mhm. Nate?
Yeah, I had a conversation with a candidate this morning. He was just transitioned on the Marine Corps intelligence analyst, and part of our discussion for a particular role I had that I really liked his resume. It was heavy on data analysis, heavy on being able to present uh, those data points to a decision maker to prep the battlefield or decide what the next move is going to be. And, a business leader may not understand that, right? I do, having spent 22 years in the service, and my colleague Seth as well here at Fiserv, we understand that. So I'm able to take what he wrote as an intelligence specialist, an intelligence platoon sergeant in the Marines, and go to that business leader and say, hey, this is exactly what you're looking for. He takes massive amounts of data. He's able to interpret that data. He's able to present it in a way for a business leader to understand, not a commander, change it to a business leader, and enable that business leader to make decisions based on the relevant information. And it connected well with him. He was able to go, I didn't realize that, right? And then as an NCO or as a leader, he has secondary functions that we often don't think about as leaders or in uniform, right? We have to manage our personnel, right? Whether their medical status or dental status, are they physically fit? Are they meeting height and weight? Are their NCOERs up to date? All those different tracks, and make sure they have the right equipment to accomplish the mission at hand. Those are great skill sets that aren't necessarily reflected on that document of a resume, that lead to a fantastic associate in the workplace. And with what we do at Fiserv, in an ever-changing environment in the payment space, that is somebody you want on your team. The ability to adapt, the ability to react, to act under pressure, relay information effectively. It just makes a good business case to bring that individual into the firm. So excited for him. We're going to get him to an interview, and it's up to him from there. But it was a light bulb moment for him in the conversation. And one thing I'm going to add, I feel bad for anybody in the call who is not an MP or SF, because you got two of them on the call today. Spent my career as military police, so.
Yeah.
And now I work in fintech. I mean, who saw that coming?
Look at that. Yeah, look what I'm doing. Who saw that coming?
So let me also, just as you all were speaking, it occurred to me that there may be individuals that are viewing you all speak today that have served. And so I want to take a moment to acknowledge those that may be here that have served in the military. Thank you so much for your service, as well as, and this is the learning and development part of me that's coming out, because as we look at that specialized terminology in one of the courses that I facilitate and teach, we talk through military occupational codes, and that there are so many free resources that for recruiters and for hiring managers, if there is specialized terminology that maybe doesn't translate exactly to civilian language, you can utilize. There's certain specialized programming that allows you to be able to translate those occupational codes or some of those terminology into civilian roles if you're not as familiar. And so for a civilian such as myself, looking at a military resume, that allows me to not allow that specialized terminology to be a barrier. And so just want to put that out there for the individuals that are on the call. All right, with that, and there's some free resources, and so just Google it, y'all. My next question is, I'm going to start with Zach and end it off with Nate for this second question. The military lifestyle requires a high level and a high degree of adaptability and rapid problem solving. How can organizations better evaluate these power skills as professional assets rather than focusing on traditional tenure or linear career paths?
I think veterans come with a non-linear experience. I would have to say that's pretty much agreeable amongst all veterans. They have experience in exactly what people are looking for. Companies say they want resilience, they want calm under pressure, they want rapid learning, accountability, and mission focus. They want all this stuff, but yet they're holding them to, hey, I want to value adaptability. So why are we not interviewing for adaptability? Why are companies saying they want resilience, but we're not talking about the resilience that a veteran may bring to the table? There's situations where they're always put into, they're having to align with different stakeholders under pressure, and often surviving where resources were limited. Most veterans, I can remember many a time whenever we didn't have the resources we needed to do certain things, we had to get creative. A lot of times, a 550 cord and duct tape, So there are things that veterans can adapt on the fly, and you're not going to see that in a resume. The only way you're going to be able to see that is when you actually sit down and talk to them, and actually give them the floor and let them kind of explain their experiences in an open format. Most people are more than happy to share experiences that they've came across, as long as they're not under some sort of top secret NDA or something. But for the most part, you find that they've walked through moments where environments change very quickly. They're very adaptable. You just have to listen for those adaptability traits that companies do say that they want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nate?
Yeah, and to that point, right? When you're 18 years old or 22 years old coming out of college and you enlist in the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, you don't know how to drive a tank. You don't know how to do infantry tactics. You don't know how to work on comms equipment or some of these specialized skills that we do in the service or that we've done in the service. But we were able to learn it. right? We were able to go to basic training, AIT, come out of it, and now we're proficient in tanker, or we're proficient cannon crew member, or whatever X is, whatever that MOS is. And we continue to grow in that career. And then we often find ourselves in that career as we progress up the ranks. We're doing things that aren't necessarily that MOS, right?
Yeah.
At one point, I ended up running agribusiness development operations in Wardak Province as an E5. I have never spent day one on a farm. I couldn't tell you anything about farm. I could now, but I was able to learn quickly, do some research, figure out, ask the appropriate questions of folks that were maybe in the formation that had spent time in the agricultural field, and then apply it to submission success. Same thing here at Fiserv, right? That's what we try to tell our hiring managers. They may not know anything about credit processing. They may not know anything about financial services or banking technology or how payments work. Those are teachable skills. It's those skills that they gain in the service that they bring to us that meet that job description, and we can train on the rest. We can teach on the other. And I hate using the word train. You coach, mentor, guide an individual. You train an animal. But
Yeah.
We're able to show what Fiserv does, right, and show how credit processing and bank processing works because they have the baseline skills that come in. One thing for employers on the call: look at how you're writing your job descriptions. If you want to target military talent, make sure you're writing a job description that speaks to them. Sometimes we'll take a role that we have, and I'll go back in and I'll recraft that job description to speak to veteran talent and create a separate talent pool that they feel that they can apply to, that they'll be successful in, and begin those conversations. And the data is in my favor on that. About 50 to 70% of the time when I get a veteran in front of a hiring manager for an interview, it leads to offer, and that saves on recruitment costs. So the business case is there.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to acknowledge again, I saw a question come into the chat. Keep those questions coming, everyone. Thank you so much, Kent. And as well, I see a comment about military spouses. I want to make sure that you all know that this is not just for one specific category. Military spouses are part of the fabric and umbrella of the military community. And so we definitely want to ensure that we are acknowledging your service as well in this conversation. All right. Next question. I'm going to have Nate go first. And then, Zach, I want you to bring it on home for us for this third question. For roles where a degree is listed as a requirement, what are some specific military training equivalents, such as specialized certifications or command experience, that hiring managers should view as comparable to a traditional 4-year degree?
In all honesty, it's a case by case scenario, right? It's a conversation with that service member or that spouse to tell me what they've done in their career, what they've done, in past experience, that I can make the case to say, in lieu of this degree requirement, this is what they bring to the table. They've got X amount of years of experience doing exactly what we're asking for. They just may not have obtained that degree that we need. If it's now there's some roles that we have, I just can't get around it, right? Cyber, finance, a couple other things, but human resources is a great example, right? An NCO in the military, 90% of a platoon sergeant's job is human resources functions, right? It's policies, it's procedures, it's advising the commander on, the formation and how they're doing and all those good things. So I can use that business cases in lieu of, they've been doing it for 10 years. Why do they need to go to school to get it? Right. That's great to have. Professional certifications are amazing as well. Whether you're on the network side with CISSP, CompTIA, things like that, or you're getting senior human resources manager, senior human resources professional, PMP, Six Sigma. Those are all great things to have. The DoD, Department of War, provides to you. It's in ATARs. You can sign up for them. So it's talking to the candidate, getting their story, having them explain it, and then being able to translate it to the business leader.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I agree with all that. Honestly, I think Nate hit it right on the head. I was going to say that a lot of companies have to really be honest about what that degree requirement is actually trying to measure, right? You have military people that come out and they have formal leadership pipelines. They go to all these giant leadership schools. They have certifications, equipment qualifications. You know, like Nate said, cyber and IT training, Air Force Cyber Command. They come out of there with almost every cyber cert you can think of in today's industry. Um, what a lot of times they have to look at, how does a 30-year veteran who was commanding the Navy SEALs, who may or may not have, well, he probably does if he's a commander, but that degree, why can he not be a leader within another organization? You know, what's keeping him from doing that? And like we started out the conversation before we jumped in, is a lot of times do they get, hey, they don't have the proper tech skills, or maybe they don't have the sales skills. You know, these are a lot of stigmas we have to overcome as a veteran coming into the corporate world. It doesn't mean every degree requirement should disappear. It means that companies should distinguish what that degree requirement actually means, and where is it because they want to show commitment, 4-year degree commitment compared to a 10-year career in the military. To me, that's a pretty good commitment right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
Next.
I want to add something to it real quick, if you don't mind. Like, if you look at my resume, if you look at my background, I went to school. I got a criminal justice degree. What on earth am I doing at Fiserv? it it's aptitude, right? That's what I like to look for. Do they have the aptitude, right? Are they able to pick it up? Some companies look at the degree requirement as a check the block thing, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think
Yeah, I don't either.
experience outweighs it. Um, and just, but you got to be able to make the case for it.
Gotta.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the tenets of CareerCircle is skills-based hiring. And so if you're able to do the skill, you should have the opportunity to get into these roles. 100% agree. Absolutely. Next, we have, what is one simple thing a company can do in the first 90 days to ensure a veteran hire feels supported and stays long term? Zach? What is
Well,
one simple thing a company can do in the first 90 days to ensure a veteran hire feels supported and stays long term? What do you think?
I'll give you three things: structure, context, and human connectivity.
Mm,
I think once they come out of the military or they're transitioning into another career field, structure is something very familiar to all veterans. It is something that they're used to. It's something that they want when they come out. When I was leading the missile program, that was some of the feedback we got. When you come to corporate, there's not that structure built to go do this, go do this, go do this. We had to kind of implement like a 15-day structural trial period to get used to corporate America, right? So
mhm.
this little boot camp allowed them to adjust to the way the wild lifestyle was within the walls of Cisco. Um, they struggle a lot, right? They don't struggle with the lack of ability. They struggle because nobody explains how this new environment works. That's where the struggle point is, in my opinion. Um, a lot of companies chase retention. I think Nate can agree that if you get a military guy, they're very loyal. They'll probably stay around forever until you kick them out. Over to you, Nate.
Uh, One thing we do here at Pfizer, whether you're a skill bridge candidate, a fellowship candidate, or you're direct hire full time, we try to partner you up with a Pfizer buddy, right? And
Yeah.
think battle buddy. And then, if you're a veteran, we try to mirror that, find another veteran in the firm through our Military Leadership Council, one of our 8 ERGs, to partner up with that's, on site with you. And we also take it a little bit further that if you're a senior NCO, we try to find one that was a senior NCO. If you're a field grade, we try to find one that was a field grade. So you're able to have those conversations with somebody who's had the same kind of career path you did, or the same experiences that you have. And then Seth and I also try to do touch points at the 30, 60, and 90 day mark during your fellowship or skill bridge. Like, how are things going? Is this what you thought it was going to be? How is your interaction with your manager? Is the work that you're doing fulfilling? Are you learning something? Is this some place that you see building a career? And if there's any issues, we try to catch them early so we can address them. And if things are going great, I mean, we keep the conversation going and hope to build upon that. So it's creating a sense of community, is making sure that that individual feels welcomed, that they're involved in the day to day, and that they're focused on their career progression and growth.
I love this. I love how y'all took my question and remixed it. And I need y'all to do that for all the rest of the questions. If I ask for one and you have three that's in your heart that's burning, give it to me. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So my next question is, even with the right tools, shifting to a military inclusive strategy requires internal buy-in. What is the most effective way for a talent acquisition leader to build a business case that convinces skeptical hiring managers to prioritize military talent? Nate?
I'm actually was in the middle of doing that this morning as well. We're trying to figure out a way to on the Hiring Our Heroes fellowship side, off cycle fellow candidates are often overlooked, and I think that that's a sweet spot for us because it mirrors well with our hiring strategy. It's building that business case with the HRBPs at the several business streams that we have, to go to their hiring managers and say, hey, here's a tool that we have to bring talent into Fiserv at no cost to us. That's basically like an extended job interview, right? It's an internship for all intents purposes, that we can convert to a full-time associate if they do the things that I think they're going to be able to do. I think data is a huge tool to leverage in making the argument. I'm constantly in a dashboard that we've built within our ATS that shows how many military affiliated applicants that we've had that move to the recruiter screen stage, that get to the hiring manager stage, that move to offer. And I'm able to see that by job category as well, or job family. And then that helps me determine, where am I seeing the most success, right? What business units can I go to that are, more willing or more apt at hiring veteran talent, where, those folks are staying on and they've been successful, and then using them as examples, and also showcasing fellows that we've had come in that have, turned it into a successful career. So leveraging the data that you have, leveraging the success stories that you have, really highlights that business case, and makes hiring managers more often than not go, okay, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. Let's give it a shot. And that's all we're asking for, is a shot.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's actually pretty simple. It's not charity. It's just good business, Brittany. Veterans bring accelerated leadership. They bring learning agility, mission focus, accountability, high pressure environments. They've done all these things, right? So I think what you really have to do is, whenever you're trying to build out a strategy to bring in more military talent, you have to figure out where the managers are struggling today. Is it poor leadership? Is it slow hiring cycles? Is it the candidate pool is not where it needs to be? Or maybe they had a whole bunch of candidates and none of them checked the box. You know, military people can do a lot of these things, right? They retention data. You can look at some of their retention and how long they're staying at companies, tends to outlast most of their civilian counterparts. So yeah, it's not charity. Don't come in with gratitude, patriotism. I can't tell you how many times I've had guys and gals come through the program and they're sitting there telling their whole story while they were in the military, and kind of paraded around, and military folks know a dog and pony show, so to say, just kind of move them around. Hey, go tell them what you did in the Navy, kind of thing. No real vision, no real path to success. And all they really want is a meaningful employment. They want meaningful employment, a tribe that they can call their own, and a community and an opportunity to serve again after service. I think if you can fill those buckets, you're gonna do really well with hiring military people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. One of the things that we see in industry trends when you have to hire, the amount that it costs to rehire is in the billions. But recognizing individuals that come in that want to stay long term, such as what you were saying for those in the military community, is absolutely going to save on that bottom line. And so, business case right there. We're saving money by hiring
Yep.
the right people, and then the right people staying in roles, and thus being able to help them to go to the next level. So 100%, absolutely, absolutely. And then last question for the both of you: if you could challenge every person in this audience to do just one thing or three, we we're open to the remix differently in their next one-on-one meeting or hiring conversation to better advocate for military talent, what would that action be? Nate, it looks like you got something. Give it to me.
I think there's two ways to approach the question. I think it's from the employment side, as you know, you're a TA rep or you're a business leader, and I think it's also on the side of the candidate themselves, right? The veteran. If it's the candidate themselves, you got to help us help you.
Yep.
You got to prep. You got to do the right things with a resume. You've got to do your background, your research, you got to figure out what an idea of a pathway post service for you would be. Okay. I have a lot of conversations with service members that are transitioning out, and it's scary, and I get it. Um, they're like, "What's next? What do you got for me?" And that doesn't really help me. Okay, I've got at any given point 300 plus posted opportunities across the country. I got to have an idea of how to drive the conversation, right? I got to know, what you're interested in doing, what is going to make you happy in the long run. A lot of senior folks are like, man, I want to make $150,000. I want to make $200,000. They haven't done the research on the market. They haven't done the research on comp. They are asking for things that are way outside the scope of what I'm able to do. So you got to help us, help you. And that means doing the legwork. Okay. On the hiring manager and the business leader side, it's having that open mind going in. Okay. A lot of firms are writing their job descriptions for somebody to come in and be able to do the job as the person that they're replacing that's been doing it for 10 years. And they're wanting that expertise like right off the rip. And that causes a lot of service members to get overlooked, spouses too, that are completely capable of delivering excellence and meeting business goals, but they're lacking, industry experience, and you just got to have that open mind. So that's my take on it.
It's
I like
brilliant.
his take. I'll stick with that. No, I think on the hiring manager side, you got to kind of, before you question the candidate, you have to kind of question the filter that you're using to question the candidate. What capability could you be missing because you don't understand the language that they're speaking? Like there's so many things they could be saying that you maybe don't understand. So that's the question you could ask. What did you actually do that this resume is not telling me? That is a question they could ask. And I've had people say I've built whole Splunk labs within my closet while I was on duty station, and that wasn't in their resume. You'd be a great candidate for Splunk. So dig a little bit. I just be uncomfortable a little bit, get outside the frameworks, and just ask good questions. You'll be surprised at the kind of candidate you're actually speaking to.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Excellent advice. So be prepared. Walk into the room
Yeah.
knowing the language, knowing the culture, as well as with you, Zach, for the hiring manager, going outside of your comfort zone. If you're truly wanting to be inclusive and attract military talent, do the research to be able
Yes.
to speak the language as best as you can. I think that that's brilliant, brilliant advice that you gave. So we're transitioning into the popcorn round. Okay. When I say
Boy.
popcorn, I mean no one is assigned to these questions. When the spirit hits you, you're just going to pop up like popcorn and answer the question for me. All right. So
I like that when the spirit hits you.
when it hits you, okay.
You got to be from the South. You have to be
Gotta
from the
be,
South.
gotta be.
When it hits you, I want you to answer the question for me. All right. Question number one. How do you tap into this specialized military candidate pool?
It's for us. It's finding the right partners in the space, and we were talking before the call opened up to everybody else that the military hiring community is extremely small, comparative to the standard talent pipelines. But at the same time, the space is getting crowded with a lot of organizations that are trying to tap in. They're saying, hey, we provide this MLS translator, or we provide this resume translator, we provide and access to a talent pool, etc. It's finding the right tools that work for you, or the right organizations that are actually getting after it. And there's several that come to the top of mind and that are great. And there's a bunch of them that don't as well. But be cautious of who you're partnering with. Be cautious of who you're going to, but keep that open mind. Listen to everybody. Take what works for you. Take and get rid of what doesn't. I mean, that's basically some of it for me. I mean, it's goes back to that legwork and prep.
I think you need a framework in place, definitely. And I think you need to talk to other companies who are actively doing it and kind of take some of their best practices and apply them on your own if you're looking to tap into military talent. You definitely have to have a structured plan. It's not something you can just go off and be like, hey, I want to bring in 25 veterans for a skill bridge program. If you do that without a plan, it's probably going to fail, in my opinion. You've got to have places to put them. You've got to have training opportunities. You've got to have shadowing opportunities. You have to have all these things in place before you can just willy-nilly open the doors for these kinds of programs. On the hiring side, I firmly believe you need some sort of translation training, if that's even a thing, to understand for your talent advisors, for your HR representatives. They have to understand how to read a military resume. But back to Nate's point, the veteran needs to put in the work too.
Mm-hmm.
It goes hand in hand. It's education on both sides, not just the corporation. It's also the veteran.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. That's great advice.
We could really go down the rabbit hole of this one.
We can.
Yeah, and another thing that we do here at Fiserv, at least twice a year, we try to do it twice a year. We bring all hiring managers on to a call. We invite them to a call. We do the same for HRBPs and other business leaders as well. We create two separate engagement sessions where we go over those things that Zach just brought up. This is what a military resume looks like. These are some of the schools that you might see, like ALC equals this, or MLC equals this, or War College equals this. This is what a colonel this is what their scope might be. This is what a staff sergeant scope might be. Yeah. These are some of the jobs or MOSs in the service that really translate well to us. And these are some of the pipelines that we have to bring that talent in. And then we always leave ourselves available for questions or further guidance or further discussion. Reach out to us if you don't understand something or if you're having trouble translating what this resume says. Seth and I are always here to help. We're here to say, hey, I think this will work. I think it wouldn't work. And then we work with the candidate as well. We do some interview prep with them. We do some, hey, I maybe would take this paragraph of what you did in the 3 shop and I'd translate it to more of a business context instead of an operational context. So it's a twofold approach. I think education is the key. And then what Zach also said is, as far as, skill bridge and fellowship and making sure you got the right spot for them, how you approach that program needs to be intentional. you want to make sure that that service member has the best opportunity for a full-time offer post skill bridge or fellowship. I don't want to waste their silver bullet. It's their one opportunity to get experience. So we try to pair that with roles that we're actively seeking to fill, and leaning forward a little bit with roles that we're projected to go live with in the near term. So it just goes back to giving them their best opportunity for success.
I want to piggyback on what Nate just said. Like he said, this could go down a rabbit hole. He mentioned something about MOS translators. There are some good ones, and there are some really bad ones out there. Some of them will say that a captain, an O3, is equivalent to a sales director in a major organization. Me and Nate both know that that's probably not going to be the case. That you're setting them up for failure by doing these kinds of things, because all they're going to think in their head is that I'm qualified to do this. When at the end of the day, I've coached and mentored enough veterans to know that that's not the case. In a large corporation, you're not going to come in and be the director of a sales organization. So be careful, do your research. If you're going to use these MOS translators, make sure that they're kicking out the right kind of information. Like I said, there are some really great ones out there. There's also some really bad ones out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that advice. Next question. What advice would you give nonprofits preparing veterans for interviews with large employers like a Fiserv or an NGT?
Knowing the needs of the firm, knowing the history of the firm, knowing the culture of the firm, and being able to put that on the candidate. Hey, if you're interested in Fiserv, this is what they do. This is how they do it. This is their culture. This is some of the opportunities they have. And, create, when you're doing those coaching sessions, model it on that approach. Okay. Make sure you incorporate it on that approach. A lot of, some of the firms, some of the 501c3s. Sorry, my wife's in the nonprofit space. Nonprofits, I automatically go to 501c3. But some of them, they say, hey, create a good resume. They create a template. They don't tell them you need to craft your resume to that particular job description. That's a big thing. There's a lot of methods to do that. It's something as simple as taking the job description that you're interested in, throwing that sucker in the chat GPT, taking your resume, throwing it in the chat GPT, creating a prompt that says, hey, make my resume speak to this, but make sure it's not, spitting out any garbage. It can do that.
Yeah.
And then reading it, putting it into your language, into your words, into your context, into your experience, and then using that as a tool. We tell every veteran that we talk to, make sure you tailor your resume to that position that you're approaching us with. I think that's a message that needs to get out to the community, because I see a lot of them that don't. I see a lot of them that come in that are just not ready for an interview. Got to really drill down on that prep, that legwork that we were talking about earlier.
It does. And to piggyback on Nate, and I know he and I probably go back and forth piggybacking a lot on each other. But
to piggyback off what the commander said,
it's a piggyback. And so the big thing is prep. That's kind of where we're at here. Make sure that they're being prepped for what they're about to encounter. I'm a firm, huge advocate of your network is your net worth. If you want a job being an account executive anywhere, you should have a network. I'm talking to account executives. You should be able to network with people that are in these types of roles. It doesn't mean go out and have dinner with them, but they should be meaningful relationships. Somebody you can say, hey, I've got an interview coming up. I would love some prep of what you go through on a day-to-day basis. Like Nate said, those interview preps are key, because I've seen many people bomb interviews. They could look great on paper, but that's where you go from rock to rock star, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Helen Martin. looking at the chat, and Helen Martin put, "What's the best MOS translator in your opinion?" And Helen, I don't have one for you. I've never been wild about them, because I think they often overlook those second
They do.
and third order functions that you do in the service.
They do.
I think they sit there and they go, "All right, well, Nate was an MP. He should be working for, the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office," which, oddly enough, they send me a business card about once a month. Um, and has no business being in talent acquisition, has no business being a program manager, has no business being in fintech. I would say that my 11 years says otherwise.
I agree.
So, like, I would caution you on them. I would say they're good for maybe like idea generation, or if you're having trouble like getting that creative flow going. But be
I agree with
wary.
that.
I've never been a fan of them.
I'm not a huge fan of them, but if you were asking which one's the best, in my own honest opinion, right now, I think Recruit Military has a pretty decent one, but it doesn't go down the levels like Nate said. It's going to tell you, hey, is this is your job. This is what you equal to. Like Nate said, I qualify for the sheriff's office and a few other things, but my experience says otherwise. Or running a food truck. In my case, right? You could be a food truck operator. Well, my experience in this space says otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So you've
Mm-hmm.
got to be really careful throwing them in, like Nate said. You're going to get some idea generation, which I think is great, but don't use that as the gospel.
I love that you have given me a different perspective, and let me tell you where I'm coming from. I have sometimes worked with organizations to help them to be more inclusive of military talent, and for individuals that are civilians that don't have the language. I was saying it would be important for them to become familiar with these occupational code translators, because if I see a military resume and I don't have any kind of insight into what these roles are, is beneficial for me as a hiring manager to utilize this so I could see where some of those skills may lie and some of where those transferable skills may be. And so I think that, just connecting with what you said, there are some benefits to the utilization of it
Sure.
as well as some drawbacks. And I think that overall in technology, you have that as well. You have some things that are pros and you have some things that are cons. And so wonderful. That was my colleague, Helen. I have to
It,
shout her out. Thank you so much for that amazing question. As well
it,
as I have
it
to,
it's
go ahead,
all
Nate.
it all goes down to where that generator is pulling their information from.
Yep.
If
Mm-hmm.
they're getting it from, Department of the Army, Department of the Navy, they're going to translate it based off of what DOW is saying.
Mm-hmm.
If they're getting it from, actual folks like you and me and Zach and our resumes and our backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
and how we wrote our resume, that it might change things a little bit. It's all what their baseline info is, and that's why I've never been a big fan of it. Civilians don't understand the military, and if a civilian's making this MOS translator, it's not going to work for you.
So what we've done in the past is you can have them give you a demo. Anybody who has the MOS translators, you can have them give you a demo. And I challenge, if you're interested in doing this route, look up some MOSs or AFSPCs or whatever job titles that you typically come across and
Mm-hmm.
see what that translator spits out. I used to always pick special operations community because I had a lot of those folks that would come through the missile program. Sometimes it would kick out pretty decent job descriptions and what they're qualified for. Other times it was way off the beating path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It would all I don't know if the MOS translators are moody or how that works, but a lot of times you could do that. You don't always get the same thing twice, and is what I'm trying to say. So make sure that if you're going to be entertaining that you're having and asking for a demo of those things,
Yes,
because they're not always the best. And
absolutely. What did I hear? Were you going to say something? All right.
No,
I
I'm good. I think we're right on it, and I know we're coming up to to the time, and I wanted to throw one little nugget out for everybody before we ended. It's being relevant, right? And you got to maintain your relevancy. Um, and it goes back to the education, the certifications, the training, the professional networks, all those things. Um, I'm going to go back to my path, right? CJ ended up coming into fintech, not knowing anything about fintech, was ended up moving into an operations role, where I was, working in our order management process for our hardware distribution across the country. And I was sitting in on meetings that I didn't understand what they were saying with senior leaders. I didn't understand the business terminology that was being used. I needed to fix that. So I went off and got an MBA. So I would have better business mindset, better business acumen, better business technology. So use the same kind of approach as you're growing in your career, to maintain that relevancy, maintain that development, maintain that mindset moving forward. That's the biggest thing you can do for yourself. Um, if you have the opportunity to take, some side business classes, I highly encourage you doing so. Google certifications are great. There's some platforms that offer free ones. Salesforce has got a great program that does some free certifications as well.
Yep.
All these things are there to help you, and that make you a relevant candidate in the workplace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I want to shout out my fearless, amazing, awesome, wonderful leader, Kim Sneeder. She was in the chat giving you all kudos. And I believe that she wants to offline with you all about what some of the things that you were mentioning. And so just wanted to give her a shout out. Thank you so much for joining and your support of this amazing panel of experts on this topic. We have time for one more question. All right. And this is for both of you all. We're going to end it with many military spouses have career gaps. What is the best strategy or policy change a company can adopt to fairly evaluate candidates with non traditional career timelines?
What we do at Fiserv is we make sure that business leaders know that they're going to see that on a military spouse resume, because their spouse they got a PCS, right? They got to move to a different duty station. They've got to, maybe they get deployed and they got to take care of the house or the kids, or there's tons of different circumstances that go into a spouse resume that are going to lead to gaps. And it's us making sure that we are able to explain that to them, to the leaders, to the decision makers. You may not see a traditional resume in a spouse, but then we take those gaps and we translate it into the business case as well. Like, okay, they had to drop what they're doing, drop their career, and adapt to taking care of the house while their partner is forward. All right, that means they're managing the household budget. They're maintaining the scheduling of whatever activities the children got to do. They're making sure that the house is taken care of. All those maintenance issues that tend to come up when you least expect it. And they're doing it solo a lot of times without, the support of their partner. And it shows resiliency. It shows adaptability. It shows dedication. And it's how we craft that into a business case.
Yeah. Stop treating the gaps as risk, right? There's so many different things that a military spouse can bring to the table. They've been through the relocations, the deployments, the logistics, all that reinvention of themselves through every base that they've gone to with their spouse. They show capability. They show resilience, like Nate said. I was speaking to a military spouse late last year who had a doctorate. She hadn't been active in her doctorate, but she had a doctorate and she was having a hard time getting a role. She didn't forget all that. She just hasn't had time to an opportunity to do it. And a lot of times, military spouses are still staying at home, sometimes, unless the spouse who's retiring says it's your turn. I've heard that a couple of times. It's your turn. I've done my 20 years in the military. Your turn. they bring so much more to the table, and they're not early in career. I really don't want people to treat military spouses and veterans as early in career because they've lived a whole life before they got to us. Most of them have lived 20 years older than most of the hiring managers, and they've lived a whole life. And don't treat the age and experience as a weakness.
Great advice. Great advice. And I saw some
I don't
military.
know how my wife did it.
Oh, say it again, Nate.
Said I don't know how my wife did it.
Absolutely. The list, the ending off with a love letter to our military spouses. I know that we had some that joined today. And so we see you, we honor you, we honor the sacrifices that you've made in the position that you have been in. So thank you. Thank you, Zach and Nate, for that very thoughtful and poignant response. With that, we are closing. Y'all, it doesn't feel like it's been 56 minutes. It feels like this was a 15-minute conversation. Time flies when you're having fun. All right. I want to thank you so much, Nate and Zach. You've given us so much to think about and act on today. Remember, our final takeaway: investing in military talent is an investment in the entire military family. By addressing these blind spots, not only filling a role, you're strengthening a community that has already given so much. Before we wrap up, I want to make sure everyone leaves with the tools to take action. Keep an eye out for your inbox. We'll be sending today's recording, as well as our veteran hiring playbook, which is a comprehensive resource to help your team build a military inclusive strategy. We want you to please take a moment to complete our post-webinar survey, which will be included in your follow-up email alongside the recording. Your feedback helps us to continue to improve and bring you meaningful conversations like the one that we had today. And then be sure to follow us on socials to stay in touch with us with our upcoming events. We'd love to keep you in the loop on what's coming next. Thank you again for being here and for committing to building smarter, more resilient talent pipelines. Take care, and we look forward to staying connected. Until next time, everyone. Bye-bye.